Hi, and welcome to Freak Boy Runs, my new YouTube channel. My name's Freak Boy. Some people also call me Wayne. And I'm here in the beautiful Oak Point Preserve in Plano, Texas. Stunning park among the singing cicadas. And I'm launching this channel without really knowing what it's going to be about in the end. But I do know I want to document my running journey. A journey that started almost 6 years ago, just walking, and progressed to running every day, racing, and running marathons. And now I've run 7 marathons, including 2 at Boston. I plan to run all 6 world majors. And I'm trying to get to a sub 3-hour marathon. And so that's the goal. I'm a 61-year-old man. And who knows how old I'll be if and when I get to the sub 3-hour mark. But I'd love to take you with me on the journey. So welcome. And I hope you'll join me on the trials and tribulations of getting to a sub 3-hour marathon. I guess the first thing to do is go a little bit into my backstory. And not that we need to go all the way back, but it is somewhat relevant just to briefly go 40 some years back to high school when I was a runner back then. But I wasn't an endurance runner, I was a sprinter. And I was a decent sprinter. I ran the 100 meters in 11.2 seconds and did pretty well. And I did run, some, I guess, endurance 1 and 2 mile long runs each week just to get some cardio, but I absolutely hated it. I only did it just because I knew it was good for me, but I sure didn't enjoy it. And so that's what kind of got stuck in my head, that I hated running, that I hated endurance running anyways. I loved sprinting at the time, and I still love sprinting to watch it in the Olympics, World Championships, things like that. It's super exciting. But that's long in my past now. But it really soured me on running. I shouldn't say soured me, but I really wasn't interested in endurance running and running as a hobby after I graduated high school. So I stayed involved in a lot of different sports. I would go to the gym, lift weights, skiing, rollerblading, golf, things like that. But I pretty much steered clear of running. I started playing soccer, I guess, in my late 40s, and thought it would be a good idea to do some running just to stay in shape for soccer. But that really didn't go well, and I really didn't enjoy it then either. So I don't know how it just suddenly clicked finally when I was 56 years old, but it did. And I'm glad that it did, because now it's such a big part of my life, and I really can't see living without running going forward for the rest of my life. And just to pause here, I want to turn the camera around just to get a peek at this beautiful lake. It's just so lovely. And this is the park where I run pretty much every day. So, how did I come to start running? Well, after playing soccer in my 40s, I had some injury problems at the time, shoulder surgery, rotator cuff, things like that. I kind of fell out of doing fitness related things altogether for a few years, for several years really. I became pretty sedentary, and if I'm being honest, started sitting around, eating too much, drinking too much. I gained a lot of weight, and for my height, 5'7", getting up to 233 pounds, that was way too much for me, and I wasn't happy about it. So I started doing things to try and whip myself back into shape. I didn't really get into the gym. I didn't start running or anything like that, but I did a renovation project in my house. There was a lot of physical labor, and as I was doing that, I was counting steps, and I was also going out and going for walks, maybe 3 to 5 miles, something like that at a time. And I did start losing some weight, but that only went so far. And eventually, I guess it was 2018, in September of 2018, I challenged myself to do 20,000 steps a day for 100 days straight. I just wanted to see if I could do that. I didn't have any designs at the time of going beyond that. I just wanted to see if I could do 100 consecutive days at this level and prove something to myself. And at first it was hard. A lot of blisters on my feet. It was very painful. Part of that was finding out the hard way that you got to pay attention to your shoes if you're going to be doing that much walking or running, for that matter. And those old shoes I was wearing at the time were just not cutting it. But I learned a few of those hard lessons. I made it through the first few weeks and then just kind of got into a groove. And I got to the end of the 100 days and I just thought, that really wasn't so bad. I wonder if I could do another 100. And I just decided to continue to see if I could do a second round of 100 days and get to 200 consecutive days. Well, that was kind of the start of my streak. I got to 200 days and thought, well, I could probably do 300, and if I can do 300, I can do a year. And I just thought that'll be cool to say I walked 20,000 steps a day for a year straight. So I went for it. Got to the end of that first full year and thought, why stop now? The only problem was it was taking a lot of time. 20,000 steps a day of walking, 20,000 steps equates to usually about 10 miles for me, 16 kilometers ish. And that was taking me 2.5, 3 hours every day. So it was kind of after a little over a year of that, I decided, I wonder if I can save a little bit of time by running. I dreaded it. I just thought I hate running so much. I just can't see myself doing it. I thought about it for a while, and one day I was just out on these same trails where I'm at now, and I decided I'm going to give it a try. Before I talk any more about that, let's take a look here from the highest point, or one of the highest points, over the lake. Just such a look. That first foray into running was a big surprise to me in a couple of ways. One was, almost right off the bat, I realized I don't hate this. This really isn't so bad. And the other was, I was able to run a lot longer than I expected. I thought, oh, maybe I could do 1 or 2 miles, just a few kilometers. But I think I did 5 miles that very first attempt. I'm not gonna lie, my hips were screaming by the end of it. I was pretty sore at the end, and I was in a lot of pain for a few days afterwards. But it really made me realize that those several hundred days of consecutive walking of 20,000 steps per day, that was the real deal in terms of providing aerobic fitness for me. That really did my heart a lot of good, and I recommend it to anybody, even if you're not really interested in running. Do some walking. It is really good for you. But after I recovered from that first session, I tried again, and I had a similar experience. I was able to go a lot more than I had ever been able to previously. I think my longest run prior to this was 2 miles of continuous running without stopping. At the very most, 2 miles. So it was really something to me that I was able to do 4, 5, 6 miles at a time now. And each time that I did it, it was a little bit easier. And I really did ease into it. I still didn't really consider myself a runner at the time. I was only doing it a few times a month, but it was the start. I guess my first time I really felt like a runner was, it was October. Yeah, it was October of 2019. And up to that point, I'd really only done about a dozen runs, over the prior 8 months. But some friends of mine invited me to their place in Houston for a weekend, for a birthday party. And they were runners. And they knew that I had been dabbling a little bit, and they invited me to bring my shoes and run with them in their run club that weekend, which made me honestly pretty nervous. I thought, what am I going to be doing with people in a run club? I'm just going to look like a fool. But I trusted them. They told me it wasn't going to be a problem. I told them I was only running, I don't know at the time, maybe 12-minute miles. And they said, that's cool. Nobody's going to care. And we'll run at your pace. So I decided, what the heck, I'll give that a go. I took my shoes down there. And early in the morning, 6 a.m., something like that. That was my first experience getting up that early for a run. Went out and met their run club and went out for a run. And it was really fun. And I really surprised myself. For starters, you know, I couldn't believe that I was actually able to run 11 miles. We took some breaks, you know, we stopped at the water tables, waited for people or caught up to people that were waiting for us. And I ran 11 miles. And what shocked me even more was that I ran them at 11 minutes per mile. And that's really what kind of opened my eyes. You know, it was two things, I guess. Seeing all these people that were so into it.
I'm having a very, 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 very bad day.
And seeing the community and how they all supported each other was a big thing too. I just never really experienced that before. And so I came away from that weekend thinking, now I'm a runner. I knew at that point that this was something I wanted to get involved with. Wow. I didn't realize I had quite so much to say. So I'm gonna have to split this backstory into two parts. And that concludes part one of the Freak Boy backstory. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and share and comment. And until next time, Freak Boy out!